Welcome everybody to Annie T Chats. And this evening, I have a very lovely special lady on this evening, and her name is Julie Ryan. Now, Julie Ryan is a psychic medium, but she's also an intuitive, a medical intuitive. And I am so intrigued since I came across this lovely lady, and I just wanted to know more. So I invited her onto the show, and she said yes. And I'm so happy that you did. And welcome to the podcast, Julie.
Oh, I'm so delighted to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's great to see you. The reason why I've asked you onto the podcast is because I read this fabulous book, Angelic Attendants. Read the whole lot, got to the end, and you gave me a great visual, gave me great comfort and a great visual to work with because it's illustrated through it. And I had your email address, and I said, I'm gonna just reach out, just ask and you shall receive. And I did, and then I found all the work that you do, and I was like, oh my God, this lady's amazing. So
You
well done
sweet
on this
thing.
book.
You sweet thing. Thank you so much. There's a fun story that goes with how that book came about.
Go on, tell us.
Well, when my mother was dying, and we can go through the 12 phases of
Yeah,
transition, how we're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and
yeah.
pets. And everybody goes to heaven. All dogs go to heaven. There was a movie in the 1980s, All Dogs Go to Heaven. All people go to heaven too. Well, 12 years of Catholic schools, that's not what I was taught.
Yeah,
But guess what? Everybody goes to heaven. So,
yeah.
anyways, my mother died in 2002, and that was the first time I'd ever been around anybody at the end of their life. And I was on one side, my heart was breaking because she was dying very unexpectedly. And on the other side, I was seeing all this glorious stuff happening, angels and deceased loved ones, spirits and pets. And I'd been studying woo woo for about 10 years at that point. And I thought, whoa, this is amazing. So, and I'll be happy to tell you more about that story. So one day I met my mentors, and she's doing a healing on me. Her name's Susan. And when I'm on the table, my deceased loved ones' spirits are lining both sides of the table. Even my late dog, Katie, her
Okay.
little hind legs, she's on her hind legs, her little paws are on the side of the table, and she's helping in the healing. And this day, this dead Pope spirit shows up, Anne. And I said, well, he's got the hat on and the shepherd's rod and the whole 9 yards. And I said, well, who are you? And he said, well, I'm Clement. And I said, I'm so sorry. I've never heard of a Pope Clement. And he laughed and he said, well, I was number 6. I said, okay, great. How may I help you? And he said, well, you need to teach the world what happens when somebody dies because it's been so bastardized and people are so afraid.
Mhm.
And he says, crazy. I mean, it's glorious. And you know that because I had worked with many other families at this point, a couple of years after my mom died. And I'd seen this 12 phases of transition for the first time. So he says, so you just need to teach the world what happens when somebody dies. And I said, thank you so much for your confidence in me, but I'm really not interested because you see, I'm a businesswoman and people will think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
And so thank you for stopping by, but no thanks. And he laughed and he said, yeah, well, everything you've done in your life has prepared you for this. You just need to do it. You just need to get on with it.
Yeah.
Long story short, I get in my car to leave 15 minutes later, and I looked him up on my phone, Pope Clement the Sixth. Come to find out, this guy was in office during the Black Plague when 2/3 of Europe died, and he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I thought, Ryan, you can't make that up.
Yeah.
And so, two more pieces of this story, if I may, real quickly.
Yeah. I've read this in your book and it's fascinating. Go on.
Piece number 2 is I'm at my mother's funeral, and they're talking about in paradisum, the prayer that's said at the end of every Roman
Oh, yeah.
Catholic funeral. The
Yeah.
angels and your loved ones will greet you and lead you into paradise. Well, I'd been to many Catholic funerals in my day until, before I'd gotten to my mom's funeral. Boy, I really heard that at that point. And I learned that this was a 5th century Gregorian chant. And I thought, well, maybe it took till the 5th century till somebody was well educated enough that they could read and write. And certainly those people were men living in monasteries and synagogues. They were the scribes. So that was part of piece number 2. Piece 3, I'm sitting in Mass a couple years later. I'd written an outline for the book, but I'm busy. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm running companies, stuff like that. And from the altar, Father John Fallon, born and raised on the Emerald Isle, is our pastor here in Birmingham, Alabama. And he said, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could tell us if the angels and our loved ones greet us and really lead us to heaven? And I'm getting elbowed from my son and my husband. I'm in the middle of the two of them. And I'm thinking, seriously, God, from the pulpit during the sermon, you're giving me grief about this? So I said, all right. Wrote the book, decided to just put my website up, all that. And I was lecturing, I was giving a talk at a conference with all C-suite executives. And they were mostly men, or a couple of women in the audience, mostly men.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, I'm going to put my AskJulieRyan.com website up, and I hope it doesn't affect my businesses. Give my talk. Sure enough, after I'm done, this man came up to me and he had his iPad open to AskJulieRyan.com. And he said to me, is this you? And I said, why, yes, it is. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's my picture right there on the front. And he said, I'm really interested in knowing more. Can we sit together at lunch? And I thought, oh, great. I'm just going to get harassed throughout all of lunch. But I smiled and I said, certainly. And so I go to sit at lunch. It was a table of 8. There were 7 men, all C-suite executives, and me. All they wanted to talk about, Anne, was woo-woo. Not one thing about the conference, not one thing about my talk, not one thing about anybody else's talks. They just wanted to hear about woo-woo. And I thought, okay, God, I'm in.
Yeah.
And that's how this all began.
And I think it just intrigues everybody. Everybody just wants to know more. They have to believe, or they want to believe there's so much more, no matter how skeptic people are, you know? And I was the one at the start.
Well, and we're all going to lose a loved one. All of us are going to have loved ones who are going to pass. We're all going to pass ourselves one day. And I find there's lots of information out there about near-death experiences, about the afterlife, about how to grieve, about hospice, all of that. Not much about what happens when somebody dies. And that's what people are afraid of. Are they going to fly or are they going to fry? I stole that line from Father John Fallon, my pastor. I told him after Mass, I said, I'm going to steal that line. He said, have at it, girl.
Yeah, it definitely brought me a lot of comfort. And I was kind of hoping that we would, well, you would break down these 12 phases for everybody that's listening that hasn't read this book that I've been recommending, by the way, to anybody coming in. I'm like, listen, you need to have a read of this book. You need to look this lady up, and yeah, you're doing some great work. So let's start with phase 1.
Phase 1, we're all spirits attached to a body having a human experience. Most of us have heard that before. And I learned in Catholic school that the spirit or the soul is someplace in the chest area. That's not what I perceive. And what I perceive is that the spirit or the soul is the main part of us, the everlasting part, and the body is inside the spirit.
Right.
Now, if you look at the old masters' paintings of religious figures, whether it be Jesus, the Virgin Mary, Buddha, whomever, oftentimes they're depicted with a halo around their head or around their whole body. Well, everybody has one. That's their energy field. It's their aura. It's their spirit. We're all holy people. We all have auras. We all have halos around our heads and around our whole bodies. So the 12 phases of transition is what I call this process. And as I mentioned, it's how angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets are configured around the person who's dying. And that configuration changes as the person gets closer to death. It's important to note that time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time is a human creation. And so, regardless of if somebody dies instantly, like in the case of a homicide or suicide, or they die over a prolonged period, days, weeks, months, even years, everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition. Phase 1, spirit and body start to separate. The spirit hangs on to the top of the head, and it looks like a speech bubble in a cartoon where the character's thoughts or words are.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Phase 2, the parent spirits come in. And the mother spirit, the maternal spirit closest to the person who's dying, is the first one to show up. And she runs things from the spirit world. That completely surprised me. I thought God certainly has a dying department in heaven where they say, oh, Susie Lou's dying, and wherever, and send some angels to help her with her transition. That is not my perception.
Maternal side.
Maternal side.
Yeah,
if the person who's dying is adopted, it's the mother that raised them.
Okay.
Okay. Whether that be an aunt or a grandmother or whomever.
Yeah.
So the maternal spirit shows up first, then the paternal spirit closest to the person who's dying shows up. And let's say, just for conversation's sake, we're going to talk about a person who's dying and they're in a bed.
Yeah.
Just because it'll make it easy for discussion. So the mother spirit, the father spirit are there. My mother's deceased. When I die, my mother will be there to run the show. My father's deceased. He'll be there. If either of them were still alive, if my mom was still alive, it would be my maternal grandmother. If she was still alive, it would be her mother. It's always on the maternal line. If my father was still alive, it would be my maternal grandfather. Again, it's always on the maternal line, which I find fascinating.
It is, isn't it? I was going to mention that. Why is it the maternal line?
Well, I think because those of us that are mothers, we think, we birth them and we're helping them from the grave. Yeah, we're helping them from beyond. Yeah. In the Jewish religion, a child is not considered a Jew unless he's born from a Jewish mother. Oh. And I wonder, I haven't done any research in this, but you think about how ancient that culture is. What do they know about the maternal line that is affecting this maternal spirit always running the show from the spirit world?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to research that in my spare time.
Yeah, interesting.
So always the maternal. Phase 3, angels show up. These are big old angels. They're angels like a Catholic school girl would be taught angels look. Big wings, white gown, rope belt, bare feet. They look like the statues in the paintings.
That's
is that what angels?
Yeah.
Is that how angels really appear? Well, it's how they appear to me to let me know who they are. To somebody living in an indigenous culture, let's say in the middle of the Amazon, it may just be a ball of purple fog.
Yeah.
Spirits are always going to show up in a way that let us know who we are based on our own human frame of reference. What have we been taught? What have we experienced? They're going to present themselves so that we can understand what's going on. Other phases, that circle formed by the parents at the feet. Again, our dying person's in a bed. Angels are in a circle. The parents anchor that circle. As the person gets closer to death, that circle opens up into a horseshoe and then eventually a straight line across the bottom of the bed. And I call that angelic crowd control.
I see that. That's what I wanted to ask you in phase 11. Yeah. Crowd control coming in.
There are so many tens of thousands of spirits that are there to welcome the person. I call them the Welcome to Heaven Committee.
Yeah.
And they're dressed in period attire as I perceive them in. So we may have cave people there. We may have Renaissance people. We may have 1960s miniskirts and go-go boots. It's just all across the board. And they're so plentiful that they look like dots on the horizon. There's so many
people from past lives showing up.
All
as well.
past. Oh yeah.
Do we recognize them during this phase?
Yes, very much so. The ones from this current life are usually in the front, and oftentimes I or one of my graduates of my angelic attendant training class can describe what the people look like, and they'll say, "Oh, that's Grandma Susie," or "That's, Uncle Pete," or "That's." When my mom was dying, she was the principal of a Catholic grade school, our
Yeah.
parish grade school, and her pastor was her boss for 25 years. He was there, Father John Byrne, and he was, all these Irish connections here, and
Those-
he was in his black cassock, and he'd been dead for 25 or 30 years, and I hadn't thought of the man since he died.
Need to show.
I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I didn't go to his funeral or anything, and there's Father Byrne front and center, and he was very close to my mother.
Okay.
So, that was an example, not to mention family members of hers, some of whom I didn't know who they were because they were grandparents and great grandparents and great aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
And I saw pictures of them. The other thing that's interesting is pet spirits show up.
Yeah.
So I saw the spirits of our dogs that we had when we were little. And I thought, oh my gosh, Frosty, our white German Shepherd, been dead for 25 years. And there was her spirit there. And she was watching out. So all these animals, spirits show up, every pet the person's had in this lifetime. And if they live on a farm, their farm animals will be there too. I'll see cows and chicks and ducks and lammies and pigs and whatever. And I'll say, okay, there's a horse, and I'll describe the horse. They'll say, yeah, that's Smokey the horse, or whatever the horse's name. I mean, they know. And it gives the family so much comfort, Anne, that their loved one is surrounded by these spirits. So about phase 6, remember spirit bubble hanging on to the top of the head. Two additional angels show up.
Yeah.
And they position themselves on either side of the spirit bubble on top of the person's head. And when that happened with my mom, I thought, this is interesting. I had no clue what they were going to do, but I knew that they would play a pivotal role in her departure. About right after phase 9, between phase 9 and phase 10, those angels' wings on either side of the spirit bubble started to move.
Yeah.
It was this slow rhythmic movement, and it reminded me of a giant owl.
Oh,
If
wow.
you've ever seen an owl fly or watched a documentary about them, they're silent, they're graceful, and you can almost feel the drag.
Yeah, I can almost hear.
Well, over a period of time, these wings of these angels on either side of the spirit bubble created a vortex.
Yeah.
Upward pulling. Think of a funnel cloud, think of a tornado. And I could feel the upward pull. I could see it, I could hear it, I could feel it. It reminded me of being in the car wash. And at the end, when they turn on the dryer and it's sucking all the water off your car.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really that strong.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought, okay, this has got to help her spirit. And that's exactly what happened. Her spirit exited through the vortex. Interesting point about the vortex. When I was doing angelic attendance, when I was writing it, I was led to research I did owl wings vortex. Just put it in the search bar. What I learned was there's this aeronautical engineering phenomenon called the wingtip vortex. And it's happens to everything that flies, every jet, every plane, every bug, every bird, every kite, anything that flies. And what happens is how the air goes over and under the wing, it creates a vortex underneath the wing and it causes lift.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my word, I'm watching these angels' wings. I have goosebumps telling you about it right now. I'm watching angels' wings cause this vortex that I can see, I can hear, I can feel in this human reality. And that's what my mother's spirit went through to get to separate from her body. And we hear about near-death experiencers who will say, yeah, I went through a vortex, or I went through a black hole, but it felt like there was a suction in it.
Yeah.
Vortices create energy that causes them either to go up or down. And so my mother's spirit went up, and then those angels on either side of her spirit bubble escorted her to heaven. Heaven looks like this big plasma wall. Go through it, no trash, come back out. no trace. I have to mention, I've never seen St. Peter at the pearly gates with a clipboard going, yeah, you're allowed in. No, you got to go fry for eternity. Everybody goes to heaven. One other interesting point about the vortex. For many years, and I would say the spirit always goes up and to the right. And I had no idea why. I was giving a talk at a Helping Parents Heal conference a couple of years ago, and there was a physicist professor who was in my audience and had, I believe, lost a child. Obviously, lost a child, Helping Parents Heal. And he came up to me after my talk and he said, I know why the spirit goes up and to the right. And I said, why is that? And he said, think about screwing a lid on a jar. When you want it to go down, you screw it clockwise. When you want it to come off, you screw it counterclockwise and lift it up to the right.
Yeah.
He said, if it's coming upwards, you're screwing it counterclockwise and it's always going to come up and go to the right. And I said, I love it when science catches up with woo-woo.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? And it makes sense.
It does. Furthermore, there's university-based research that now shows that 90% of people at the end of their lives see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as they're transitioning. It used to be that we thought grandma was just hallucinating because of the morphine that hospice was giving her. Turns out she actually could see and communicate with her deceased mother's spirit, and her mother had been gone for 40 years. So I love it again when science catches up with the spiritual.
And me too. And you can see them reaching and looking above, when you go to visit somebody that's in a hospice and you're chatting away to them and they're looking above you and you're just like, I wonder what they can see,
They
and
can see their loved ones' spirits, angels. Yeah.
I know that now. I know all this now because I'm in them.
And this is so comforting for people who've lost a loved one who maybe was in the military or died alone. During the pandemic, so many people couldn't be with their loved ones. They weren't allowed in the hospitals. They weren't allowed in their homes. And so they've really suffered a lot of guilt. Nobody ever dies alone. We're always surrounded by spirits and angels. By the way, anybody that wants a free copy of this, just go to AskJulieRyan.com. You'll see on the homepage, there's a button that you push. And we'll send you a free digital and audiobook version. And we have it in Spanish as well.
And Portuguese, and what you're aiming for French and German now as well.
Well, we don't have the book translated in all those languages yet, but I do have YouTube channels in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and German. Yes.
I heard that this morning. I was listening to you when I was out doing my walk. And so you talk about 7 spirit guides. Are they part of 7 main spirit guides? And I was like, tell us about these 7. Are these 7 spirit guides part of this process, or are they just with us all the time?
They're there, but they're with us all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And they are so fun. Spirit's hilarious, first of all. All spirits are just, they're so funny. And I see them kind of, if I'm looking at somebody and they want to know about their spirit guides, they kind of form a horseshoe behind the person, and everywhere they go, the person goes, they're with them. And they all look like, again, frame of reference, they look like Father Time. They look like Dumbledore from the Harry Potter movies or Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings movies. So long hair, long white hair, long beard, old man, white gown.
Yeah.
And then when we talk to them individually, then they morph into looking like how they appeared in the life that they lived that correlates with what the person has going on in their current life.
Yeah.
So Pope Clement is my main spirit guide, and he showed up about 10 years ago, and he said, you need to teach the world what's happening. And I used to debate him all the time, Anne, at the beginning. I'd say, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. No, thanks. Thanks for stopping by. But I didn't say go away, but I was thinking, no. And you know what I've learned over the years? He's always right.
Yeah.
He's always right. So I don't debate him anymore. If he tells me to do something, I do it.
But you went home and Googled about it, and then you found out he was sick. So that's evidence. To me, that's evidence,
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And I think what brings you to the Google to find out a little bit more about what you've just witnessed I like the vortex as well. Like, who else would be Googling that? It's just to give you the
Right.
answers. Yeah.
Well, there are with that vortex and the wingtip vortex whole
Yeah.
phenomenon in aeronautical engineering. There are tens of thousands of articles and illustrations and pictures and gosh, papers, and every pilot knows about the wingtip vortex. You just
Yeah.
ask any pilot, they all know about it.
And we all know about it now.
That's right. Yeah.
It's an energetic field. Yeah, I did love your angelic crowd control, and the mama side of the family, the women on the other side are still doing everything from the other
That's
side. I
right.
was like, that's really cool. So let me ask you, is there a time frame between each of these transitions, Julie?
No, no, because everybody's different. Remember, time's
Yeah.
a human creation. Time
Right.
doesn't
Okay.
exist in the spirit world. So it can happen very instantly, like in the case of a homicide or suicide, as I mentioned, or
Okay.
it can happen over a prolonged period of time. I had one gal early on my show. We just released show episode 700 last week. So this was
Yeah.
years ago, early on. And her dad had Alzheimer's, and he took more than 2 years to die. He was in phase 11 of 12, ready to go for 2 years, Anne. And
Well,
when I'm working with somebody, I always ask three questions. Are you ready to go? What do you need? And are you in pain? And they'll tell us. Are
yeah.
you ready to go? Yes or no. Are you in pain? Yes or no. You can get their pain managed
Yeah.
normally. And what do you need? And that just runs the gamut. I need a chocolate bar. I need a hot fudge sundae. I need a sweater. I need to see. One of my favorites is I was working with a family in Athens, Greece,
Okay.
and the father was a retired Greek admiral.
Okay.
And he'd had a stroke, I believe, and he hadn't been able to communicate for a long time. And he was at the end of his life and couldn't communicate. I don't even think he was conscious. And his wife, I was talking to his wife on the phone, and I asked him, I said, what do you need? And he said, I need to see my sister before I leave. And so I said to his wife, he wants to see his sister. Can you have her come over? And she said, no, she lives in Sydney, Australia, and we're in Athens, Greece. I said, well, get her on the Zoom or the FaceTime or something, give her a way that even if he can't communicate with her verbally, hearing is the last thing to go, and his spirit knows that she's there.
Yeah.
And so she did, and he died shortly thereafter after she connected them.
And that's a really cool story. It's actually from reading your book and, of course, binge watching you on YouTube. And I'm loving it. I'm learning loads from you, actually. And I had somebody and I declined in, and their grandmother was going through a passing. And I was saying about, what I've learned from you. Get the sister on the phone, and she lived in America, and her sister got on. I said she might be waiting for somebody. And her sister got on, said goodbye, and she left peacefully the next morning.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
we all decide where we go, when we go, how we go, or who's
yeah,
with us or not
yeah,
when we go. And every critical care practitioner, every emergency department practitioner, every hospice practitioner, every funeral director has endless stories about my dad waited until his whoever showed up and then he died 10 minutes later. One of my favorite ones, and if I may share it, is I have a I have a client who's a nurse and works in the intensive care unit, and she said that her patient was just really at the end, and he coded and he died, and she shook him and she said, you can't leave yet, your brother's on the way, his flight lands in 10 minutes and he'll be here, in a half an hour. And she said he woke back up,
yeah.
the monitors started going again, and then the brother arrived and the brother got to say goodbye, and then he passed shortly thereafter. So
What a
I love
cool
that story.
story.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. So it's
Yeah.
actually true that we will be waiting.
And I
So,
also tell family members of somebody who has died by suicide, I always
yeah,
say, really, if we decide when we go, where we go, how we go, and who's with us or not when we go, are all forms of death a form of suicide? I believe yes, if we're choosing that. If we're choosing to get hit by a bus, or are we choosing to go out over a prolonged period of time? I hear from Alzheimer's patients all the time at the end of their lives. Telepathically, I hear from them
Yeah.
that they stuck around because they wanted to give their family time to get used to the idea of them not being present in physical form. I've heard that so many times I've lost count.
Yeah.
So, is all death a form of suicide? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, when you say it like that,
I know, isn't it interesting? And that
that
gives a
is
lot
it.
of comfort to the family who has a loved one that died by suicide.
Yeah. They would get great comfort in it as well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we all choose that. Do you think that there's many different opportunities for entries and exits, that like opportunities what we'd have here, that we have a choice with taking an exit earlier, like the story you're just saying about the man coming back and going, no, I just want to be here, that we just kind of choose to stay and to hang on and to work it out. And do you think we have different pockets of different timelines that we can check out?
A lot of people talk about that we come in with preordained timelines of, okay, here's one of your exit hatches when
Yeah,
you're 7, and here's another one when you're 12.
yeah.
That makes sense to me, Anne. And when
Mm,
I ask Spirit, and I've asked Spirit a whole bunch of times, just did again, I hear a no. That's not
okay,
how it works. It's
okay.
all free will. It's all my motto is happy, healthy, dead. I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. When I'm ready to go, I want to go.
Yeah,
And we all decide where we go, when we go, how we go, who's with us or not. And
yeah,
back to the suicide deaths, when I talk to the spirits of people who've died by suicide, they all tell me, I apologize to my family and friends. I know it's been hard on them, and yet it was great. It was easy. It was fast. I didn't suffer. I was ready to go. Boom. I
and
was back in heaven.
they
Yeah.
went wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating, isn't it?
Well, and I don't know about Ireland, but here, I believe we have 12 states now where they call it the death with dignity or MAID, medically assisted something in dying. And it's a pill that the person can take to end their life, and doctors prescribe it. And I believe more and more states will be doing that going forward. And somebody needs to be terminally ill in order to get the prescription, and it's really changed the way people look at suicide in a different way. Somebody who's suffered with cancer or some other ALS or some other really debilitating disease, and they're just ready to go to
Yeah,
heaven. I have a client whose mom did that recently, and she was really, the client, the daughter was really suffering. The mom was great about it. She said, all my family's going to be here. You guys know what time to be here. We've taken the guesswork out of it. I'm ready to go. I love you. I'll watch over you from heaven. And her daughter, my client, was really struggling with it, whether it was the right decision. And I said, it's not your decision to make.
well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not their decision. Wow, really cool, Julie. Really cool. So tell me about this scanning, this laser beam that you laser beam over from Alabama, Sweet Home, Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with that. That you send the beam from were you good at geography as a child? Like,
I know where the oceans are. I know the continents.
oh my God. So you have this laser beam. So when somebody gets in touch with you and asks you for a medical scan, talk us
Yeah.
through that process, because that's
Okay.
pretty fascinating now, I have to say. We want
All
to know
right.
more. Tell us.
Well, as you know, Ann, this is all so much fun to do, and it's pure love and joy. So you gotta, like Mary Poppins says, in every job that must be done, there must be an element of fun. So
Yeah.
this needs to be fun, and spirit is pure love and joy, and that's a high vibration.
Yeah.
So I always say I'm a businesswoman and an inventor who learned how to do woo woo, and I'm a buffet of psychicness.
Yeah.
And the woo, by the way, in Taoism means source. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. So I didn't know that until a couple of years ago. And I thought, well, no wonder I've been using woo woo for all these years.
So
Means source.
woo originated from source.
Woo in Taoism means source.
Okay. I didn't
Yeah,
know
it
that.
translates into source. So once we connect with spirit, we can do it all.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach in my classes. We have in the spiritual space, much like the medical space, we've got the mediums and the psychics and the pet psychics and the healers and the NDEers. And it's like you're connected into spirit. It's all the same thing.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I teach the whole buffet of psychicness.
Mm.
How this works is I raise my vibrational level to the level of spirit, which is a very high vibration.
Yeah.
I watch a laser beam in my mind's eye come from my body here in Sweet Home, Alabama, the southeastern part of the US. I'm in Birmingham. And I watch a laser beam go and hook in. For instance, it would hook into you in Dublin.
Mm.
And then I have a hologram of you in my mind's eye. And it's as if I'm looking at an X-ray or a CT scan or an MRI.
Wow.
Three things happen. Something's identified. Immediately thereafter, there's some type of energetic healing. And then we work on the energy field membrane. When I have you for an hour as
Yeah.
a consult, on the show, I spend 5 minutes with somebody because we're trying to get as many people on as
Yeah.
possible and identify what's going on with them. And so, as an inventor of surgical devices, some of the healings I see utilize things that I saw in the operating theater, in the operating room.
Yeah.
Same instruments, same procedures, things like that. Sometimes something will be added, it'll be removed. Oftentimes, I'll see healings that utilize methodologies and devices that haven't been invented yet. And you'll hear me say, oh, cool, this is new. I haven't seen this. And that is just kind of like in my bag of tricks. You know, it's in
Yeah.
my repertoire. And inevitably, I'll have other people that will show up with the same need. When
Mm.
I get somebody on my radar in an hour long appointment, I'll envision shooting energy from their feet up through the top of their head, and I go in blind. I'm not looking for anything because I want to see where the energy is going to go, because
Okay.
it's always going to go to the most pressing issue first, even if that issue is asymptomatic. We're heading off a problem at the past. Sometimes it's the root cause of a bunch of other symptoms.
Okay.
So I'll have a list. I'll be talking to them before I get them on my radar. That's what I call it when I hook my laser beam in.
Yeah.
And I'll want to know what all their symptoms are. I'll go in blind. Something will be identified. That'll be healing. And then we'll go down the list and be sure that everything is checked off. It's spirit working through me and with me to
Yeah.
help that person heal themselves. It's part of the healing equation. You got Eastern medicine, Western medicine, chiropractic, naturopathic, homeopathic, energy medicine, whatever. It's all part of the healing equation to help the person heal themselves. Nobody ever heals anybody else, ever, ever.
Yeah.
No doctor, no medical provider, no shaman, no healer like me. We help the person heal themselves. If you think about somebody getting a big cut on their leg and they go to the emergency department, they're going to stitch it up. They're going to put sutures in that wound. But the doctor doesn't make their skin grow back. They make their own skin grow back. And
Yeah.
that's how all this works. So I'll describe what I'm seeing in detail. Again, spirit is so much fun and hilarious. And I'll get these just crazy analogies. I may tell you your elbow looks like whipped cream or something nutty like that.
I was going to say that to you. Your analogies are amazing.
They're just, they crack me up. And at first I was embarrassed. I thought, how am I gonna tell
Explain.
people that their elbow looks like whipped cream? They're just gonna lock me up. And yet what I find is that people love it because it gives them a human frame of reference
Yeah.
for the
Absolutely.
healing that's happening. And spirit communicates in numerals. in numbers. And our brains decode those numbers into symbols, into visuals, into feelings. We'll get goosebumps, into sounds that we hear or things that we just automatically know. But mathematics is the universal language.
Yeah.
And spirit communicates in numbers. It's similar to during World War II, the Allies had decoders that when they intercepted the Nazi messages, those decoders could translate into what the plans were. And that's what helped the Allies win the war. And that's what our brains do when we're getting spirit communication, we're decoding. So some will be identified, they'll be healing. Some also be identified, they'll be healing. It goes very fast. And I'm seeing the healing in my mind's eye. And you'll notice on my show on Thursday nights, we do a live show every Thursday night at
ask you about that.
8 Eastern. And I'm bebopping around the world, but it's coming in so fast, the information, and I'm talking really fast. So I'm getting information in my head. It's like I got a dialogue going on with spirit. Go check her liver, check her whatever.
That's
and
amazing.
then I'm watching something get identified in my mind's eye. It's like I got a big screen TV in my head.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching the healing happening and I'm describing it to my client so that they can envision it. When they envision it, it helps the healing integrate into their body because the body's going to follow what the brain shows it, even if the brain doesn't believe it to be true. Think of watching a sad movie. And you know it's pretend because it's animated. And you find yourself getting weepy and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is pretend and it's animated. So it's really, really not real. And yet you're still reacting to it. So I always want them to envision what I'm describing. And on the show, for everybody listening, I'll say, you guys envision it too, because we're all sending healing.
That's what I was doing.
Person. And it, again, time doesn't exist in the spirit world. So it doesn't matter if you're listening to the show real time or you're listening to it 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
It's all the same thing. We're sending healing to them. And it's really fun. And then the third thing that we do is on a private consult, I don't have time to do this on the show. Right. I will look at what I call the energy field membrane. Okay. And that's the container that holds the energy that makes up our body and our spirit. Our spirit is the power source for the body, which is why when the spirit and the body separate, the body doesn't work anymore because it doesn't have a power source. Yeah. And the energy field membrane is like really thin, stretchy plastic wrap that you'd use in the kitchen. When there's a tear or a hole in it, there's an energy leak. Energy leaks always precede any kind of medical condition, 100% of the time. Mm. And they're caused by an energy block, a la Eastern medicine, acupressure, acupuncture, clear the block, get the chi to move, that whole concept. Yeah. Energy blocks are caused by an emotional event, either in this life or a past life. So I'll go into that tear or hole and I'll be given information. If it's this life, I'll get a year. That's the first thing I get. And usually we don't need to go any farther because I'll say 1964 and the person will say, yeah, my parents divorced. Boom. They know right away. I would say 99% of the time my clients are going to know. If it's a past life, I'll get where it was, when it was, what happened, and then we'll correlate it with their current life. When we illuminate where that energy block began, it immediately eradicates it. It immediately heals the energy field membrane. Body's working on full power, helps the body heal and regain and maintain health. I've never seen an energy field membrane rupture, ever. I'm not saying it can't, but in tens of thousands of scans, I've never seen one that ruptures after it's healed. So I believe it's the most important part of a healing, simply because we can fix body parts all day long, but if you're leaking power, what's the point?
It's pretty fascinating when you are, say I was listening into the YouTube and somebody was asking a question about their medical, and then you're listening going, actually, that sounds similar to me. That if you allow yourself to visualize it, you're actually doing it for you too. That's what I thought was this like yeah, I'm doing this for myself as well. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you have all these colors. Like you have an antiviral color, which is an infusion of red, maybe, or a blue color, or the purple coming in for antiviral. I was like, that's really cool as well. So you have
Yeah.
colors that you infuse the person with.
Well, it's spirit working through me and with me. I'm watching the show. Now, after doing this tens of thousands of times, I'm
Mm.
going to know pretty much what the healing is going to be for most common things.
Yeah.
And yet I get to see new healings all the time and multiple times a week when I'm working with clients. And you'll hear me say, "Oh, cool. I haven't seen this before."
Yeah.
And I'll be describing it to them. And that appeals to my inventor brain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm always hearing things that are not always. Often I will hear of somebody who has a diagnosis of something that I've never heard of before. And so I'm looking it up on the computer and
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay. And I'm hearing from spirit, she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. And times, especially over the years, and I've gotten way better because I bought myself an anatomy book because I would see these body parts. I'll be
Mm.
like, okay, I don't know what that is. And so I'll look it up in the anatomy book. I had a patient I had a client a couple of weeks ago, and her shoulder was hurting. So I'm looking at her shoulder in my mind's eye, and I said, your rotator cuff looks fine, but your labrum's torn. I'm thinking, okay, I've heard of labrum, but I don't know much about it. So I went and looked it up. But I'm hearing that from spirit. Your labrum
Yeah.
is torn. So we stitched it up and then we applied stem cell energy, which will heal anything. And it's just remarkable. The most important thing for everybody to remember as far as health goes is the
Yeah.
body can heal and does heal everything.
Yeah.
The body has the capacity to heal absolutely everything.
Yeah. Um, Regarding the anatomy and being a medical intuitive, do you think that you work with a doctor on the other side? That's giving you all these words, that's helping you with all this, or was it something that you were always keen on growing up, the anatomy of the physical body, or no?
No, I had to buy a book to learn this stuff. I mean, I knew what DNA looked like. I knew what the
Yeah.
helix looked like. But when I
Yeah.
started seeing DNA healings and watching people's DNA get resequenced back to a normal recipe, I'm like, okay, I got
Yeah.
to re-educate myself on DNA. I probably learned about it in the fourth grade or something, but
Yeah.
I didn't remember it. I'm a businesswoman. I'm not dealing with DNA.
I love being,
And and
love it.
to answer your question, Anne, it's spirit. Spirit
Yeah.
is God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. We're all a fractal of the divine.
Yeah.
Father Sean O'Lara from Ireland itself, born and raised. He's a Catholic priest. He's retired now. I had him on the show a couple of years ago. And he said something that was really profound. And he said, we're all a fractal of the divine,
Yeah.
which means the fractal has all the parts. And didn't Jesus say, you're going to do things that I do and greater? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And and so I don't go down to, okay, it's Dr. Joe Schmo who's helping me with all these healings. It's big source. It's spirit. It's the Holy Spirit, I believe,
Yeah.
working
I
through me
believe
and with
so.
me to help facilitate healing. Speaking of the Holy Spirit, there's a shrine close to my home here in Alabama. It's about an hour and a half north. It's called the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. And they do a healing service in the undercroft of the basilica. They have pilgrims from all over the world that come there, and they've had many, many miracles happen there. And I've been to their healing service probably 4 times now. And every time I'm in there, Anne, I not only see tongues of fire on everybody in the pews during the healing service, like Pentecost, but when they go up to the communion rail to receive a blessing,
Yeah.
they've got the communion, the host, and the big monstrance, the big, cross thing that's
Yeah.
huge. And they go down the communion rail and they bless everybody individually. And when I watch that energetically, everybody's energy field lights up all the way down that communion rail. They're either in a wheelchair or they're standing or they're kneeling. And it's like somebody's flipping a light switch all the
Ignite
way down the communion rail.
fireflies.
It's amazing. It's
Fireflies.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
I've been to some shrines and some when I was at Ashford Castle last summer
mm,
in Ireland, there's a big island that has, I think it's a 5th century church there, and St. Patrick supposedly was there, and they have tombstones that are written in Latin, but they're written vertically like the Druid language.
yeah.
Oh my God, the energy there was off the charts, off the charts.
I,
And so these holy places, are everywhere,
yeah.
all over the world.
I mean, you go to them here and you feel the energy just sit on the land. Have you been to the Hill of Tara? Have you been to the Hill of Tara here?
I don't believe so.
I have a feeling that you're going to be going there when you come to Dublin.
I didn't kiss the Blarney Stone because I heard people pee on it.
No, don't kiss
Is that
it.
true?
I don't know. I haven't had to.
All those
I'm not
all
kissing
those
it either.
stupid Americans come over here and kiss the Blarney Stone if they only knew. Oh, but
No, I
I've been to the cliffs of Moher. I've been
yeah,
to the Blarney Stone. I've been, on a lot of the touristy things. I've
yeah.
been I've seen the Book of Kells. I've done that kind of stuff. But no, what was the other place that you mentioned?
The Hill of Tara.
Hill of Tara,
The hill.
Tara.
Yeah, the Hill of Tara.
All right.
We'll have to take it to the Hill of Tara. So pay attention to what feels best for you and your body. Spirit's just energy. And I was listening to you, and you have every spirit has a frequency they keep throughout all lifetimes. Can you tell us about that? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes. Everything's energy.
Yeah.
So our spirit is energy. And that when it separates from our body, that's the part that's the everlasting part of us. And it all has a frequency. And our heads are like big satellite dishes, and they receive and transmit frequencies. So in order to get in touch with somebody, it's irrelevant whether you knew them or not. It's irrelevant whether they're dead or alive,
Okay.
because that spirit is going to keep the same frequency throughout all of its lifetimes. All you have to do is just think of somebody that tunes your satellite dish head to their frequency, and it hooks in to them, and it's like a two-way radio communication. It's like a radio or a satellite TV receiver.
Yeah.
When you tune to 104.7, you're on the disco station. It's happy, it's upbeat. You can't be in a bad mood when you listen to disco. I grew up during the disco era. You can't, it's just impossible. When you're on 97.4, you're on the old time whiny country music station where they're whining about Mama, the truck, and the dog. It makes you feel bad. That's a low vibration. I call that the I feel crappy channels, when you're in that low vibration. So spirit's always communicating.
Yeah.
It depends on what channel you're on, what frequency, and then that's going to open up that communication. So who do you want to talk to? You want to talk to Mother Teresa, Moses, Elvis, your dead grandma, your grandma who's living on the other side of the country who's still alive. It doesn't matter. You think of them, and then that's how you communicate with them.
The lines of communications are open. So
Every thought has a frequency too, by the way.
yeah.
And thoughts don't have a meaning until we give them a meaning. All thoughts are neutral, and then they're based on our perspective, the meaning that we give them.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, isn't it? It's just like blows your mind.
Yeah.
So low vibration in our grief. I was listening to you talk about this to somebody, and we asked spirit to visit us during dream state. Because tell us about that. It recalibrates back into spirit. Can you talk us through that?
Every night when we go to sleep, we go back to the factory preset high vibration level of spirit. We all come in with that. That's our natural state. And then during the day, we're busy and we're stressed and we're worried and we're whatever.
Yeah.
So when we go to sleep at night, our brains have some time to relax. And especially people that are in deep grief who've just lost a loved one, I'll say, ask your loved ones to come join you in your dreams and say, hey, mom, want to meet me in Tahiti? Let's go, sip Mai Tais on the beach. And they'll come to you, maybe not the first night, but keep asking and they'll come. And then when they come, that's a visit. And how you'll know the difference is it seems like it's in high def. The colors are more vibrant. The senses are sharper. You're going to remember details. Regular dreams, we normally don't remember all the details, and we usually forget them about within an hour of awakening. But a visit, you're going to remember.
Yeah.
And we all go back to that factory preset level of spirit, which is a high vibration. An example of this is look at babies. Babies are happy unless they're hungry, they're tired, they need to be changed, or they're in pain. That's their natural state. They're just happy.
Yeah.
And little children are happy unless they have something that they need until they're taught rules and all of it. And we need that, a lot of it, to stay safe and stay healthy. But if you ever question what our natural state is, just look at a baby.
Yeah.
They're all happy unless they've got something going on.
Society hasn't got hold of them with the rules and regulations.
Well, yeah, right. But they're self-centered. They're hungry. You're going to know about it. They need their poopy diaper changed. You're going to know about it. And we can learn so much from them because it's the natural state of all of us.
Yeah. They're our greatest teachers, children,
They
and they're
are.
our souls as well. Julie, angelic attendant training you do. Now, is this online or is it in person?
Both.
You do them both.
Both.
So about the training for what's involved in the training that you do for that? Angelic attendant training.
The angelic attendant training is this weekend in a few days in Atlanta, Georgia, the in-person one. I do it once a year in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta's the busiest airport in the world. So you can get there from wherever. We have people coming in from all across America and North America and then abroad as well. And people learn how to do the buffet of psychicness in a weekend. Yeah. People are doing this stuff within the first hour or two. It blows their minds. I think they think it's going to be way more complicated than that it is. And I say, you're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Everybody's had a situation where they think of somebody and the person either calls them or sends them a text or an email, or you run into them and you say, oh my gosh, what a coincidence. I was just thinking of you. No coincidence. Yeah. It's all their intuition. And we're all healers. We've all experienced or seen somebody who has comforted a little child when they fall and they skin their knee. Yeah. You kiss their boo-boo, you rub on it, you snuggle them and kiss on them and wipe their tears, and they go off and they play some more. Well, what is that? You're a healer. Yeah. That's exactly what's going on. So we teach all of that, and it's so much fun, Ann.
Yeah, it is just fun.
Oh my gosh. The community of angelic attendant graduates is many hundreds now across the world, and they are so supportive to the new students. And we have 9 practice groups a week that are free for life.
Facebook pages.
They're free for life. And that's when your skills really ramp up, is when you do it. Then, it's like everything else. You could throw a football, but you're not going to be really good at it unless you practice it. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree. I'm going to sign up for your Angels and Enlightenment training. I know that they're downloaded already. They're just home videos, isn't it?
Well, they're not home videos, but they are videos. Yeah, it's a self-paced learning that's online, and then there are practice groups that go with that. Oh, okay. And then soon we'll have a medical intuition class too that's self-paced. Yeah. The big one, the angelic attendant training that I do in Atlanta in the fall, and then I'll do one online in the spring, usually in May. I do 2 a year of those, and that lasts the weekend. And the online one is really, really good for people who can't travel, and those who can. Boy, that's really the big one you want to come to, is the in-person one, because the vibration is just it's no wonder we don't blow the roof off of that hotel that we rent out. And it's the thing is, it's so much fun. People say
Yeah.
that to me afterwards. They say, "You always talk about how much fun it is." And I said, "I know." And they said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." And I said, "I know, I keep telling you, it's really fun when we all get together."
Like-minded people coming together, and the belief system and what that creates within
Uh-huh.
the circle, the gathering, is pretty fascinating. So, PET scanning, dying person scan. This is what you have in your offerings. Talk to deceased, past lives. I'm intrigued with the past life. Do you go into Akashic Records?
Yeah, but I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I'm an entrepreneur, so of course I have my own way of doing it. Nobody's hypnotized. We
Yeah,
do
yeah,
what I call a past life scan.
yeah.
I'm a businesswoman. Cut to the chase. What's the bottom line? I mean, I don't have time to be like messing around with this for an hour. What is it that we want to know?
Want
We
to
find
know.
it out and then we move on to the next thing.
Oh my,
So usually in an hour appointment, either with me or I have 5 graduates that work
yeah,
with me now who are all amazing, and people can get in to see them
sure.
faster and they're
Yeah.
less expensive than I
Mhm.
am. They will cover multiple things. We can do medical, we can scan your cat, we can talk to your dead grandma, we can do a past life thing, all within that hour
Wow.
altogether. Yeah,
And that comes in with your training, angelic attendance training. Wow.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so tell us about your how to connect in with you, Julie.
AskJulieRyan.com
Yeah.
is where everything is. Everything on all the socials is Ask Julie Ryan.
Mm.
5 YouTube channels, English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and German. We'll have more coming. If you want a free copy of Angelic Attendance, go to AskJulieRyan.com. You'll see on the cover page, get Julie's book for free. We'll send you a free digital and audiobook download. Please share it with your family and friends. I think this stuff should be taught in the schools,
Yeah, should be out
and I give away thousands and thousands of these every year because it comforts people.
there.
It's
Oh,
given as a funeral gift to a lot of families who are
yeah,
grieving. It's
right.
given by my parish. My Catholic parish gives one to every family that comes in to plan a funeral. Many churches of all denominations do the same. And I have lots of synagogues and hospice organizations that give a copy to families. So you've got the free downloads. If somebody wants the paperback, you're welcome to buy it.
Yeah.
And it's really the comments that I get in emails and also just on the Amazon comments, they're so heartwarming about how it's helped people get
Yeah.
through such a heart-wrenching process.
Yeah. It brings great comfort. It definitely got it for me as well. So I do love your every Thursday you go live on YouTube.
Every Thursday,
Yeah.
we go live 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific,
Yeah.
and where
I'm
people are
looking.
calling in to the show and they're on camera. And then if you want to come in via the YouTube live stream, we're at Ask Julie Ryan there too. And you can put a question in the chat. And I've got one of my team members there to help. And so I'll say, put your first name and where you're located in the chat, and they can ask a question. If
Mm.
somebody wants to have a conversation with me, they call in on the Zoom. And that's AskJulieRyanShow.com. And
Mm.
that gets you right into the Zoom room, and we'll get people on. And so it's so much fun, Ann, because I never know who's calling.
Yeah, I
I
think
never know what their question is going to be. I never know what Spirit's going to say. So it's like a crapshoot for an hour every Thursday night. It's so much fun.
I binged watching it the other day. I took a day off, and you were there.
Oh,
I watched a couple of them back to back, and I got so much from it and what it is that you do and how you do it. And I'm like, yeah, listen, everyone needs to hear what you're doing and how you're doing
thank
it.
you. And
It's
then
really,
we do interviews as well. We'll release a
yeah,
couple of those a week too. So we're doing 3 shows a week.
yeah. I was listening to the one with Deborah, the astrology.
Silverman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of listening to that at the moment. I'm loving that as well. I love the owl astrology. Anyway, listen, I'm going to have all the links for how to connect in with you, Julie. I'm going to do a nice little write up about it, and it'll be live on Wednesday morning.
Fabulous.
And
Anybody wants to come join us in Atlanta, come on. We got
yeah,
a couple of spaces left. There's non-stops from Dublin into
Ooh.
Atlanta. Yeah. Yeah. Come
Well,
on.
you never know. You just never know. I want to thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for everything that you are doing. Thank you. And thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Oh, my honor. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks, Julie.